Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. Patton Oswalt is one of the best comedians there is. And thankfully, he and NBC's AP Bio are returning for a second season starting Thursday, March 7th at 8:30 p.m. Let's take a look.
Jack, I am not a man who likes to beg, but I'm really good at it, and I am begging you, please, please stay at Whitlock. Okay. Sorry, that worked.
The first season, Jack was a Harvard philosophy professor and is forced to move back to his hometown to teach high school kids. I'm stuck here.
It's almost Shakespearean. You ruined yourself.
He's got to come up with a way of getting out of Toledo.
Quickly finish shutting up, everybody. This is my new philosophical thesis. I'm going to describe how the hard-working people of Toledo have unlocked the key to happiness. I'm gonna write a new book, y'all.
Cool. Jack decides that he's going to get out of Toledo by writing a book about Toledo. They always say, write what you know, but he doesn't know Toledo very well, so he recruits all of the students.
Just get your hands in there.
No gloves, huh?
Well, I think Jack's teaching style is probably pretty unorthodox, but who am I to question a Harvard professor?
And action.
I see a new kid over here. I'm not gonna teach you anything. If you keep your mouth shut, you get an A. If you say anything to anybody, you get an F. Welcome to AP Bio.
I've been here the whole time.
Okay, well, talk.
Jack becomes a lot more relatable to our characters because we find out he was bullied when he was in high school.
You were a nerd, too.
I wasn't a nerd.
Lots of us are in denial.
Jack Griffin. I used to call you Pimple Butt Jack. Remember that? PBJ, PBJ?
That is not my name.
Are the kids going to learn any biology this year? If biology is the study of life, they're going to learn some pretty nifty life lessons.
Welcome to the meat locker.
In terms of biology, like the science, no.
Mr. G, I feel one of our hugs coming on.
Oh. Oh, a lot of teenage smells happening.
Everybody put your hands together for the great Patton Oswalt. Let's hear it.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Hello.
Patton, thanks so much for being here. Good to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
Congrats, second season of the show. That's great.
Yes, yeah, we're very, very fortunate to get to keep living in Mike O'Brien and Seth Meyers' world of broken high school adults and teenagers.
Yeah, it is. It's so nice that you guys got a second season because the first season was wonderful, but it is such an offbeat, hilariously weird, dark network sitcom that you're kind of like, oh, are they going to be able to are they going to let these guys keep getting away with this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird, it's a very weird tone to see at 8:30 on a Thursday night. But I think that everyone that's ever watched it has told me, oh, it not only did it make me rethink or remember what I was like in high school, but it made me rethink the adults that were teaching me were probably just as messed up as I. A lot of people said it made me realize a lot of the adults that taught me are actually younger than I am now, and I'm still confused and have no idea what's going on. And they had to deal with teenagers and deal with that every single day without losing their minds.
It's like that moment when you're a teenager and you realize that your parents are actually human beings.
Yes, exactly.
And you're like, oh, shit, they don't have any real advice to give me.
Yeah. It's the first time that your dad or mom goes, oh, I totally screwed that up. And you go, what?
I don't know the answer.
You don't do that. And like, yeah, I did. Sorry. You know, that's always amazing.
How much do you love playing Principal Durbin? I mean, everybody gets a lot to do in this show, but Durbin always has some sort of hurdle he's inappropriately climbing over or is begging to get over.
Well, he's an authority figure with zero authority, and which is so much fun to play because it's such a train wreck situation for him, and he has to be zen about the absolute lack of any kind of power that he has.
Yeah, you never don't have any conflict because you're always in a position you shouldn't be in.
And I'm always, hurting cats because I've got to keep every single person happy, and it's impossible. So that makes it really, really fun, to play.
You've done network sitcoms before. You were on The King of Queens for a number of years. What is the major difference between doing something like that and doing something like this outside of studio audience? Is it a different audience that you get to play to as well?
It's also just you're expressing a different worldview. That King of Queens was a brilliant, two brilliant writers named Michael Whitehorn and David Litt. That was kind of their way, and also Kevin James. His his comedy, his way of thinking, his very unique way of seeing the world. And then with AP Bio, it's a completely different, world and voice that you're expressing. So I think those are the main differences. It doesn't matter that one is single camera and one is multicam. It's the fact that, oh, now this is how Mike O'Brien sees the world. And it's, it brings different stuff out of you.
You have such a distinct voice as a stand-up comedian and as a writer yourself. Was it initially hard for you as an actor to learn how to lend your voice to other people's voices, or sort of figure out how to be an actor within somebody else's world?
In the beginning, yeah, it really was, because I was so much more comfortable. It had taken me so long to find my own voice as a comedian, that to then surrender that. But then after a while you go, well, no, this is the job. And it's actually kind of fun to kind of fall out of your own skull for a while and do someone else's stuff. It's weirdly freeing.
How old were you when you started doing stand-up?
I was 19.
What made you do it? Did people tell you were funny? Did you feel like you were like kind of a particularly funny guy?
I hung out with a lot of funny people, and I liked comedy a lot. So it was like I was in a clique of comedy fans and comedians, but I was the only guy that tried to do it as a vocation. So I don't remember anyone saying you should go pursue stand-up comedy, because it wasn't anything people really said. It was just something you had to decide to do. But then once I went to my first open mic, I was like, yeah, this is the life for me. I want this.
Really?
This is great. Yeah. Even though I did horribly, I loved the hang. I loved the other comedians. I just loved that life. Like, this is what I want to do.
How horribly did you do your first stand-up?
Dead silence. Dead silence. But it was, but the getting on stage wasn't even half of what was so appealing about it. It was that I'm out with the night people, and we're, I'm at the source of the creativity. I'm where the jokes are being made up. I'm not getting it secondhand from a sketch show or from someone else telling a joke. I'm where they're being invented. And if I want to hang, I got to learn to invent stuff. So that to me was like, oh, wow, I just want to do this.
When did the night hang get old for you?
Once I got married and had a kid, it was like, wait a minute, I'm waking up at 6 a.m. no matter what I do. Okay.
Is there any way we can transplant this comedy club to 2 in the afternoon?
No, hey, look, I understand. I used to, when you're in your 20s and you go to Vegas and there's these, there's some band doing a 5 p.m. show on a Sunday with drink service and tables. You're like, look at these old fogies. Then you hit 40 and you're like, oh, I get that. Yeah. So everyone's not standing up with their knees and ankles screaming at them, and they're actually going to bring you a nice cocktail, and everyone gets to go home at 7:30. I totally get that.
Yeah, I don't have a kid, and when I go to a concert by 10 o'clock, I'm like, oh, I really wish they'd come on at 9. I'd love to get home.
Oh, my God. I'm telling you, there's going to be a weird shift where suddenly all of our favorite 90s bands are doing shows where it's like 5 o'clock sharp. We end at 7. The band would like to go home. There's a new episode of True Detective on. Like, they're just gonna, I get it. I absolutely get it.
And it's a seated concert, so like nobody's allowed to stand up.
I went and saw that band, America. The Ventura Highway.
Sister Golden Hair.
Sister Golden Hair. When I was in Vegas, I was doing a club, and they were in the same casino. And I went upstairs, and it was all tables, and they brought you champagne and some snacks. And then you just watch, and America just played their hits. And then come 8 o'clock, they're like, okay, enjoy gambling. And I was like, this is the best. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Like,
you're not even expected to listen the whole time, too? You can talk and do whatever?
Talk to other people, and so when's your kid's soccer practice starting up again? Oh, okay. And the band is, they're talking, they're doing this thing, they're up on stage going, do we have a soccer game this Sunday, or do we? It was weird. There's a club in L.A. now called the Dynasty Typewriter, and it's a great club, but they're sort of trying to recreate the Largo Years, and all the Largo comedians, this legendary club from the mid-'90s, all of them are like, they'll do the show, but it's like, I'd rather just go home. Like, the guy running it is like, I got bottles of wine back here, and we can all hang out. I was like, no, it's 8:30, I'm leaving. I'm going to be in bed by 9. I'm tired. I'm not going to,
I've wondered about that. Like, there were the Largo years in the 90s, and then there was kind of like the Invite Them Up years in New York in the like early 2000s, late 90s. Mm-hmm. And I've always wondered what that world is like now. Is it just that there are too many, and there are too many clubs that actually have like a kind of
there's another scene. Again, what you forget about the Invite Them Up scene and the Largo scene was nobody was paying attention to those scenes. It was just us living it. So there is another Largo scene going on right now. We just don't know where it is because it's young comedians to a new audience that we don't know exists yet, and they'll talk about it later. But to try to recreate it artificially is, especially if you're still in your, I mean, I just turned 50. If you're in your 40s and you're still trying to do the let's stay out till 3 a.m., it's like that's kind of sad. You know, you absolutely should do that in your 20s. You absolutely should be hanging out with your friends and goofing on. Great. But by the time you hit 40, and if you're still trying to be the guy hanging out with the 20-year-olds, that's creepy.
I stayed up till 1 a.m. alone in my apartment the other night while my wife was asleep. In the morning when she was like, why weren't you in bed? I was like, I couldn't sleep. She stayed up till 1, and she was like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You're a wild man.
I remember when I first became a dad, there were nights when my wife and I'd be like, we would literally go, oh my God, it's 9:45. But we said that the way we used to say, whoa, it's 4 a.m. How did this, like it was but it was that same urgency of, because we have to get up in 6 hours, Baby's going to get up, so you have to, it totally shifts your way of thinking.
And then there's that other thing that happens where you've been going to bed so early for so long that if you don't have anything to do at a certain point, but you're not tired yet, you're like, it's only 9:30. Should I just go to bed? What else am I going to do? I'm normally asleep right now.
Exactly. I'm so excited to get to go to bed early. Me too. That to me is like, I react to that the way that I used to react to my 20s when a friend called up and said he had a bag of weed. Like that is how excited I am to go, oh my God, I have nothing to do. 8:30, I'm going to be in bed. Oh my God, I'm going to be in bed at 8:30. Oh, this is great. Like I was that excited.
I'm going to go to bed at 8:30. I'm going to wake up at 5:30 and get a ton of stuff done.
Exactly.
This is going to be incredible.
I'm so excited by that.
But then I'll usually just lay in bed till like 8 a.m. generally and get a full 12 hours of sleep.
Yeah, have that defiant 14-hour sleep cycle where you wake up, you sleep too much, and then you're super unrefreshed. And then you go to bed at 8:30. You wake up at 5:30. You go, I'll just sleep till 9:30. And then by the time you wake up, I'm like, I may as well just sleep till 3 at this point. Like, what's the point? I'm so tired.
The day's a wash.
Yeah,
just
gonna write
keep
this day off.
You mentioned your wife, Michelle. The writer of "I'll Be Gone in the Dark," her book that came out last year. I believe it was last year, right? Yeah. You came on to talk about it the week that it was released, and then just 2 months later, they actually caught the killer that the book was about. That is incredible. What was that like for you to see not just the book become a huge success, but also to become a practical success in reality that caught a killer?
It was so surreal to see that series of events go down. And then even more surreal today, as we talk, this is the day the paperback came out, where there's an updated afterward that I write about what happened the day that he was caught and we got the news. And, it felt very, very... I flash back to the oh my, is this actually happening? It was one of those feelings of I don't quite know where I stand in terms of reality, and it felt like the ground falling away under my feet, because it was so bittersweet. It was so, oh, he's caught, and so all of the surviving, family members of the victims and stuff maybe have a sense of peace or at least justice, but then Michelle doesn't get to see this. So it was that thing of there were so many emotions rushing in at the same time that I kind of couldn't feel anything for a while.
Yeah, at a certain point, do you just kind of go, oh, okay.
Like I can't process this right now, and I'm gonna just embrace not processing it, and that actually helped.
Do you feel like you ever processed it, or do you think that was your version of it?
No, that's the thing. I don't think you'll ever fully process something like that, and that's something that a lot of the cops that I've talked to who deal with victims, and some of the victims that I've met are like, you have to accept that there's never a full processing of it. It's too much.
Wow. So you just kind of move on, and
you have to go, and it's almost like the way to celebrate her is to get up and live a life and be with Alice and be happy with her and try to, spread more, for lack of a better term, like some light and life around you, because that guy was trying to suck so much light and life out of the world.
In your stand-up special that's on Netflix that came out, I think, as well last year, maybe just before that, Annihilation, also talks a lot about this. And it talks about processing, and it talks about healing, and it talks about being with your daughter. Is there a part of you, I know that you have a show on Sunday at the Beacon, is part of your process still bringing some of this stuff into stand-up? Can you even talk about this kind of thing in stand-up?
Well, I went into everything I wanted to talk about it when I was on my special. So now it's all new material. Like, I don't want to have to keep revisiting that because I think then it gets a little exploitative and I think it gets false. I said what I needed to say, and the rest I can deal with myself rather than constantly kind of shoving people's faces into my pain as if it's this performative thing. I think that ends up doing a disservice and a disrespect to the departed. So, you know, I'm just trying, again, it's that let's live with some defiant joy, for lack of a better word, but I just want to make people laugh, especially in these times. That feels like an act of defiance.
Do you feel like, I mean, when you say in these times, obviously that's a reference to the horrifically weird, surreal, crazy time that we're living in, and that is in some respects to do with the president right now. Do you find that there's any way to talk about him as a stand-up comic that feels like it works, that feels powerful?
I mean, yeah, it just depends on the problem with being a comedian during the Trump administration. And a lot of my friends, I remember when they said, oh, you comedians are going to be so lucky if he becomes president, all the free material. And now we're 2 years into it, and being a comedian during a Trump presidency is, okay, the Trump presidency is an 18-wheeler full of monkeys and PCP. And it has crashed into a train full of diarrhea. And now there's diarrhea-covered monkeys on PCP running around, and everyone's just watching this happen like, oh, my God. And then you as a comedian walk up and go, hey, do you want to hear a joke that I wrote about these? Yeah. And they're like, no, I'm good. I have like 9 jokes in my head, right? I don't need you to add to it. Why don't you go take a break and write about something else? Like, you could not feel more superfluous.
Like, I don't even write jokes, and I've written a book of jokes about
exactly.
this thing right here.
See this? Yeah, exactly. So it does get a little exhausting.
Right, there's no joke that you could make about something that in and of itself is already its own joke and making jokes about itself and still sort of existing within that.
Yeah, because especially part of like satire is you're mocking someone, but mocking means that they have a level of self-respect and dignity that they can be knocked off of. But someone like him who is so in his own very horrible way, he is so pure in that he has absolutely zero dignity, and he's almost like it's almost like this weird level of Zen where it's like he's reached a Zen level where he has given away all traces of dignity. Yeah. And I don't know if that makes him more powerful or more free, but he's certainly beyond mocking at this point. Like, was that a Shaolin monk level that they never got to? You know, that where you're like, and then you will finally give up all pride and shame. Like, master, I can break rocks with my pinky, but I cannot get to that final level.
What do they do at that final level to
no
make
one
sure?
will ever reach it. No, there is one. There is one in America who is about to reach that level.
It's a fantastic level. It's an amazing level.
The most amazing level you've ever been to. Yeah.
All you have to do is consistently debase yourself without any recognition or knowledge that you are debasing yourself.
It is almost like one of those medieval cleansing techniques of can you completely debase yourself to get... What if he is the closest being to God right now, only because, like the old mid-century monks and the people that would flagellate their flesh, he has truly gone beyond any kind of shame or dignity, and that has actually brought him close to the center of the universe. Oh my God, that's so depressing. What if that's what's happening right now? What if we're watching this being, by completely dehumanizing himself, is then on his last day, he's just going to ascend in this beam of light, while his hair like floats above his own head, or I don't know.
And it's kind of like with the stomach hanging out and the ill-fitting suit,
gut, just
sort of like up in a beam.
I do love how, because he's gained like 50
you think
pounds.
He does clap in the beam?
Yeah. And I shouldn't talk, but like he's clearly gained the same weight that I have, but he like wears that huge floor-length overcoat, like to kind of in all weather now. Like,
what are you talking about? Gained weight? His doctor said 6'3", 240.
Oh
man.
yeah, that's
he's
true. Yeah,
good.
exactly. He's ripped.
Yeah.
But yeah, but like the overcoat, like that was their. Again, it's whatever the first draft solution is. Hey, just drape something over, it'll be fine.
Back to AP Bio for a second, because I love the show and I love Glenn Howerton. I'm such a massive It's Always Sunny fan.
So funny.
He's so funny.
So funny on the show.
And he's so good at this character. which is like an extension of, I think, the Sonny character, as well as an extension
Oh,
of
yeah.
him in a lot of ways as well, which is that he's an extremely nice, extremely intelligent guy, but there is like a part of him, I think, that like is a little like this guy.
I don't, I've worked with him now 2 seasons, and I think that the Dennis character is his way of expressing and making fun of actual horrible people that I think he has met and in his life. Because Dennis, I read this really interesting essay where It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is a very funny, brilliant show, but it's a goofy half-hour comedy, has one of the most realistic portrayals of the psychopathic personality in Dennis. Like, it actually is a clinically correct portrayal of a psychopath in action. And I just don't think that if he had any bit of Dennis in him, he wouldn't be the nice guy he is with his wife and kids and stuff. Like, it would be impossible.
True, I do not mean that he's a psychopath. It is those things though that it's like with comedy and with comedians, so often the evil characters that they play are a catharsis for the hilariously cynical thoughts and ideas that you may have.
I think that a lot of times comedians are so good at playing evil, twisted characters is because we're so oversensitive and sometimes overperceptive, almost to a fault, like that, empathy is the enemy, like that kind of phrase, that when we really meet truly horrible people, we absorb and have amazing sense memories of that, and that's why we're able to. There's a Audrey Hepburn film called Wait Until Dark. Alan Arkin plays one of the scariest characters in cinema history, this guy Harry Rote Jr., who's just and it's Alan Arkin. You think of this cuddly, fun, comedian, and it's the one true villain that he played, and he's terrifying. And I got to meet him, and I'm like, "You're so scary in the movie. How did you do that?" He goes, "That was Del Close's, the guy that ran the Second City. That was his drug dealer. We went to a party, and I met this guy, and he just radiated pure evil, and I've never forgotten that. So when I played the role, that's how I played it, because he couldn't kick that sense memory of meeting just this pure beam of darkness."
Yeah, that's true. I feel that is true, though, that comedians do kind of, I don't want to generalize, especially in regards to comedians. I feel like they're always generalized in this kind of like, they love darkness. Right. But I do feel like if you are an observant person and you are attracted to jokes, you're attracted to extremes. And the negative people and the negative, embarrassing moments of your life are those extremes.
I don't think it's that comedians are dark. I think that comedians, a lot of them have a lethal inability to let stuff roll off of them. Now, that's where a lot of great comedy comes from, because you dwell on things, but the price is that that stuff can really stick with you in some bad ways.
Yeah. I think we have some questions from our audience. Who has a question? Hey, right there. Yeah, sure. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Ben. You're one of my favorite actors and comedians.
I know. No, sorry.
So I'm a writer, and I would just love your advice on how to break into writing for television.
When you say writing for television, do you mean sketch stuff, half-hour scripts, or
sitcoms?
My first bit of advice, and this is not me blowing you off. This is the same advice I get: is just every day write something. One day write something that's going to be horrible. The next day write something it'll be a little better and a little better. All the great sketch writers that you like, Mike O'Brien, Paul Appel, who plays my secretary, was one of the best sketch writers in SNL history. They just write every day. They even when Mike O'Brien isn't writing AP Bio, he just writes stuff to amuse himself. Simon Rich, people like that, they're always writing. You should just be writing. Don't worry about, but do I get a packet together and send it in and get hired? Just write stuff for now that you really, really like. Keep doing it, and it will find its way into the right, either through your circle of friends, or you'll end up writing something and go, I should just film this and put this online. Just write something every day. Doesn't have to be a sketch every day. Some days it can be a sketch. Other days you'll write 20-minute sitcom episode. Other days you'll write, but just write something every day.
Do you write every day still?
Yeah, I try to do 3 pages of something, and I never know what it's going to be till I sit down. When I have a project, I'm writing the project. But even when I'm not, before I do the project, I will sit down and just write, even if it's just gobbledygook.
Artist Way style, Julia Cameron sort of thing?
That's the one thing. I remember I read The Artist Way, and a lot of people were poo-pooing it. And there's some weird stuff in there, but that thing about sit down and write 3 pages of anything is such amazing advice, because it gets you over the fear. It makes you less precious about your writing and go, I just got to start. And it's weird how the writer's way, that piece of advice of just sit down and write. I remember there's a book called How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. I think it came out in the 60s or 70s. And they keep stressing there's these exercises in it, and they're like, draw ahead 5 times, quick, just do it now. Like, in other words, don't agonize over, when do I put the, just not good, just keep doing it, and then you'll figure out where your thing is. But stop being so precious about it. Just start doing it, and then you'll find a way.
The advice that I love from The Artist's Way is go on artist dates with yourself, which is sort of go alone to a movie, go alone to a play.
I do that all the time.
It's the best. And it is, I find that it's I take in the experience and that piece of art more so than I ever would when I'm sitting with somebody or there's someone that I talk to.
Yeah,
it just sits in me.
If you want to write sketches, you live in New York. This is the capital of every night. There's pretty much a free sketch show happening somewhere. There's some struggling sketch group, and some of them are going to be horrible, and some of them are going to be great. I learned just as much watching horrible comedians as I did good ones, because you watch the horrible ones and go, oh, that. You'll watch something where someone does it wrong and go, you know how that could actually work? And you'll see things that they missed. So do that. If you're not taking advantage of that, especially in this city, then that's on you. So yeah, go out and go see that stuff.
Next question, right here.
Hi,
hello, hi.
As someone who's listened to all of your comedy albums like countless times, I've always just wondered which one is your favorite that you've been the most proud of out of all of them.
The one that I feel like captured more of an event rather than me, struggling to get a show together, is the second one, Werewolves and Lollipops, because it was recorded at the Cap City Comedy Club in Austin, and instead of editing together a bunch of different shows, we figured out, it's this one set, warts and all, that is the best representation of what a night at the club with me doing comedy is. And there's moments when stuff doesn't quite work, moments when I attack the audience, moments when it just feels very, very organic. It's not this cut together thing. It's the closest to we hit record, and that was the evening. So that's the one I'm happiest with.
One more.
Oh, one more.
One more.
Hi, Patton. I just want to say
nothing from this couch, guys. You got to step up. All right, go ahead.
They're good listeners. What can you
Okay, good. That's true.
But I just rediscovered Silver Screen Fiend again. I actually just found it a while back.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
been I think it's been almost 10 years since that book came out, and I'm just wondering, are you any closer, do you think, now to directing your first feature? Any ideas for it or anything?
Yeah, I'm way closer. I have some ideas. I'm going to make some short films this year. One that I can't talk about yet. But I'm gonna actually follow my own advice that I was just bleeding out to that guy. Just start shooting stuff. And again, when I talk to my director friends, they're like, just start shooting stuff. Yeah, but don't worry about it. Just point the camera, start shooting stuff, and you'll start figuring out what you like visually. And what also they said, because all my friends who are directors are like me, they watch a million movies, and they're like, you subconsciously know what you like visually. Don't sit there and agonize over what your style is going to be. You actually already know it, and you'll know it for sure once you start shooting. Once you start framing shots, you go, oh, no, I want it to look like that, and then it'll make sense.
Yeah. It's that one moment on set, though, when somebody asks you a question that you don't know the answer to, and you're like, oh, no, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah, but you know what I brought that up, and then went, but that's why you have a crew there. You have a DP. You have a grip. You have the guys that know the technical stuff. And a lot of the directors I know, they're like, I don't know all of the... I'm like, hey, what's the best way to like this? And there's a guy going, well, do this. Because their name is on it, too, and it's just as much their credit as it is yours. Because it's very much... I think the leap for me is going to be... Because with stand-up, if I do a good set or if I do a crappy set, it's on me. It's just me. But if I make a movie and the movie's terrible, I've wasted other people's time, and I know I'm going to feel guilty about that. And my friends are like, you got to get over that. You got to embrace your inner dictator and just go, all people are cattle. I'm making my vision. You kind of have to do that. But also, they're happy to be there. People that light sets and do lighting, they have a passion for that. They want to do that. People who decorate sets and find locations, there's passion there too. They want to be a part of that. So think of it as you're gathering people together and allowing everyone to do their stuff.
Now, I think for people who have listened to you talk about movies, have maybe read that book, your taste in movies runs the gamut. It can be It can be art film, it can be horror, it can be all over the place. Where do you find your story, the stories that you're going to tell? Where do you find those lie? Without telling us what the film is.
I can't really say yet. Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are going to be. I remember. Oh my God, hang on. Why am I blanking? Who directed Dog Day Afternoon? Serpent?
Sidney Lumet.
Sidney Lumet. He said the movies you'll end up making are the movies that you wish someone had made when you were a kid. You know, and if you think about all great movies are what people like. Quentin Tarantino loved crime films, but was like, but why don't they do this scene? Why don't they show this? Why don't they show this? So he went and made a movie that had this stuff in it that he liked. You know, George Lucas grew up loving science fiction, but why don't they show this? And so he made Star Wars. Like, that's what you'll end up doing.
Right. So that's what we can expect.
Yes, it'll be a kind of a Star Wars-y thing with some Tarantino in it.
Oh my God! Please. Like a 90s parody movie.
No, basically,
where it's like,
look.
It's like a Star Wars.
If you've seen
Tarantino
Smokey and the
parody.
Bandit, why didn't they show the Basset Hound's point of view? That's the movie I'm going to make. Totally through his eyes.
AP Bio is coming back to NBC Thursday night at 8:30 p.m. You're going to be at the Beacon in New York on Sunday.
Sunday the 3rd.
And I'll Be Gone is out on paperback as well, right?
I'll Be Gone in the Dark is out in paperback.
I'll Be Gone in the Dark.
I'll Be Gone in the Dark is out in paperback today. Today. Go get it today. New afterword, new material, you know, very updated and an amazing read.
Patton Oswalt, everybody. Let's hear it.